Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to Be with Mike G, the show of life, the show of mezcal, guitars, kind of all this stuff. This is interesting. Today's my birthday. Falls on a Friday, which is a good day of the week. You know, thinking we're going to freeze to death here again in Austin, Texas, but things are looking up. It's going to be a good weekend. And I was in Oaxaca recently, as I've mentioned, and spent a good amount of time with Reed Spear. And we had a conversation and led to this. So here is Reed Spear interviewing me before we had a beautiful private Cuentacuentos tasting here at my place in Austin, Texas, which was an amazing night. But all of this, you know, this interview was really great. Reed's a great interviewer, great voice. We have the tasting. It's very communal and connective. And then we go, as you do, Whataburger, being drunk and eating Whataburger at 2 a.m. So what kind of more Texas of a day can you have? I'm not really sure. So without further ado, this is me, Mike G, a.k.a. Mike Groner, for those of you that don't know my last name. Hope you enjoyed it.
When we were in Oaxaca, I asked you how many interviews you'd conducted, and you said it was north of 350, I think. What did you say?
So that are out that people know about, like 321 that's out.
321?
Yeah, but there's...
So you lied?
No, there's a lot that are in the archive, so to speak, that I haven't put out.
Okay, but basically the deal was, you gave me a number, and I asked if anyone had interviewed you for your podcast, and you said no. So then I did actually turned the table around.
I see. Well, that's good.
The hunter becomes the hunter. That's exactly right, to interview you.
I had a couple people ask some questions. I did, but nothing.
Not like this.
No, I hope
not.
We're
going
like
right.
this.
We're going right for the heart here.
Yeah, there you go.
Right for the jugular.
That's good. I've been preparing for this.
There's no preparation possible.
Well, it's a confession. You know, I'm not even Catholic, but I showed up and said, I don't know if I can do this interview. There's so many demons which I carry every day.
That's exactly what a lot of priests want to hear.
Yeah, I think they get off on that shit, right? That's why you do it.
They want to know that you're not going to talk. Okay, so now we've offended our friends.
Good deal.
Catholic community.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to. So the reason why I wanted to interview you is because, as it turns out, and contrary to what your friends told me, you're an interesting guy.
Yeah, they wouldn't say that, I don't think.
Right. They're like, why are you wasting your time interviewing?
That's right. You got a tasting to fucking do. What are you doing waiting? Spending time with this asshole.
But you got a lot of irons in the fire, which is, to me, a fascinating thing.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. I feel, music is kind of and I'm just going to take these questions kind of as we see, they'll be serpentine and tenuous and all that. But I honestly think that music was the thing that brought all of those other projects to fruition, because melody is in food, melody is in alcohol. It's everywhere, and I can see it. Like, a lot of people don't realize the way that I look in my head. I've got there are pictures that pop up when I drink a mezcal, for instance. It's actually like a keyboard. I actually see keys, and I see a chord strewn across.
This is first of all, didn't expect this. I do think you thought about this interview.
No, I have not
in advance, and
in my head a lot.
I wish I could carry a tune, but I can't, even in a bucket.
Yeah,
it's just, I think that musical talent is something that to be envied, and I always do. But you were getting ahead of me because, as I said, this is my interview.
Yeah, sorry.
And I do want to cover the music, but now we've got a theme, so let's go with that. What was your first job? Do you remember?
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about this the other day, not in preparation for anything. I have a really clear memory of my childhood going way, way back. And
I do want to get to that too.
Yeah, it's I don't know why, but I drink enough to where I should have hammered down some of the retention, to be honest, right? Like, it shouldn't be as clear as it is. But I was thinking about this dude who I went to high school with, and he had a white Ford Bronco. This is pre-OJ, mind you. A white Ford Bronco. And I remember he's like, you want to do this data entry thing. So I would actually listen to Snapple customer complaints on the phone and issue vouchers for them to get free Snapple.
So this is great. What does a Snapple complaint sound like?
Oh my God, I can't quite remember. I think there people saying it arrived, there was sediment in it. It didn't taste the way that I wanted to. And sometimes it was just praise for Snapple. It's fucking Snapple. I mean, this has to be 95, 96.
Because Snapple was one of these first phenomenal, like beverage phenom
right, yeah.
success things, as I recall. This was quite a while ago.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
And there were all these abbreviations for the key codes and shit. Because it's all, it was like Windows 3.1. But I always knew how to use a computer. But that was the first gig. But I remember, that's not even the important part. The important part is the thing that I remember the most is one, eating Hot Pockets every day. Because I don't eat fucking Hot Pockets to save my life now. I would stay away from it. But the guy, and I think his name was Justin, I can't recall. But he had this Bronco, right? And he would always do U-turns. And every time he says, this Bronco has good turning radius. That's the only thing I can remember from that whole 6 months, 3 months. And I'll tell you right now, no one I've ever been with or married to knows that.
That a Bronco has a good turning radius?
No, that I worked and took Snapple. No, that was my first job. And it just occurred to me that I hadn't thought about it in years. I don't know what I even came. Maybe I was watching OJ getting chased or some shit. I don't know.
So where was this was geographically?
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. Where were you born?
I was born in Roswell, New Mexico.
Well, this explains a lot.
It does. And the 23andMe that I took and sent in, they sent it
Never
back.
came back? Oh, it did come back.
It came back and they said, we couldn't find any discernible DNA.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
I know. I knew that's where you were going.
That's right. So yeah, I am an alien in some respect, I think.
So you were born in Roswell, and then you moved to Salt Lake. No, there's a place
much more serpentine than that. So born in Roswell, never met my dad. It's actually a huge piece of the story. My mom was working as a cocktail waitress at a bar at the Roswell Inn, and my biological father was a patron there. So she knew him. She was in her early 30s. He was in his early 20s. So she was robbing a cradle, so to speak. And this is worth noting that my mom and I are really close. So of course I'd crack jokes. But she was pregnant with me and the dude just kind of left. Right? He's like, fuck this. I'm too young for this. But she fancied the bar manager, the guy who ran the place. And that is my quote unquote dad, right?
He's your paternal influence.
That's exactly right. And so we moved all around because she was in love with him. So he left. He was in the middle of a divorce. And he goes back to Indiana, where he's from, to go be back with his that time ex-wife. There's some things that are happening at the same time with his father terminally ill, and his dad says, they're a very religious family at the time. He's like, you better get remarried to your ex-wife and do right by her, right? So there's this whole story. They were one day away from putting the wedding invitations, my mom and my dad. They were going to get married when I was still in the womb, I recall. But he left. They didn't drop the wedding invitations in the mail, and he went to go be with his ex-wife. And then they got married again. My mom went up to Detroit, because that's where my dad started working. So followed him. Back and forth, back and forth. He gets engaged to another woman.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and my mom's like, what the fuck? I remember even at a young age, I could have been more like 5, 6 or 7, that was kind of going on, Yeah, it was pretty interesting. And I'm going to finish answering this question. I'm going to turn up your gain on your microphone, too. Because I'm talking.
You'll do no such thing.
No, look. Oh, no, there you go. You see?
Yeah,
your little burbs.
Good.
Okay.
It's all good.
As long as you're there. But anyway, so that just takes us everywhere. So we go to Dallas. We go to Detroit. We go to Cleveland, Columbus, where my brother's born, back to Detroit. And my mom's like, fuck this shit. We're getting married or not. Because they had my brother together, but they weren't married. My brother's 4 years younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, okay. They get married in 88. And she says, now it's my turn. I've moved all over for you. So we're going to Arizona. Because I saw it on a golf match and it looked pretty. So
nice. I love that. That it's almost like a little bit of spite there.
Exactly.
Rubbing this in.
So there we go. We moved to Phoenix, Scottsdale, specifically when it wasn't as rich as it is now. Dad in the restaurant biz his whole life. He got another gig in Salt Lake, so we moved to Salt Lake. He got another gig in operations in Houston. And then his greatest gig as director of operations for Whataburger. And then they moved again, but I was in college, so I stayed in Houston and then moved to San Marcos. Yeah, it's a little serpentine story.
So
yeah,
are you
follow love, Reed?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you found yourself sitting in a phone room answering calls about the quality of Snapple.
Yeah, well, they're pre-recorded too.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, they were pre-recorded.
The complaints were pre-recorded.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have to talk to anybody. I just had to listen.
See, I think they need to be sharpening their chops on like what you can do on the fly.
Yeah.
Why? I was thinking that's where you got your interview skills.
Oh, hell no. I just listened.
You just shot that theory all to hell.
Well, I did do phones for Apple, though, when I started in 2004. I started on the phone.
So that's where you went from Snapple to Apple?
Apparently, there was like an aspiration there to do rhyming companies. No, I've done a lot of stuff, but I worked at Best Buy for a long time, selling computers. I have this whole dark, ulterior tech side that people.
What was your first computer?
Oh man, my mom got us a really, at the time, a great 486 Packard Bell, and I was playing games. That was the only time I ever gamed on a computer, and you dial up modem and all that shit, and the violent games, I always liked those. Those are good, but that was probably 1995.
All right.
Yeah, remember Packard Bell?
I do. My first computer was an Apple IIe.
Oh, was it? I used them at school, but we didn't have one. They're pretty expensive.
That was well in advance of 1995.
Yeah, that's a little older.
Yeah,
but you're not. You're just a little bit younger than me. So,
so the Apple IIe was I think in 85.
Yeah. Yeah, right after the big commercial, right?
Yep.
Not right after, but more or less.
Right after the big commercial.
Yeah, but computers are a big thing. It's been a big part of my life, and that's why. I really like technology and recording and all that. How'd you find your way into Apple? I was at Best Buy, and there was the Zune. Remember that MP3 player that Microsoft put out? So it was the shitty Zune.
Yes.
We all have it. This thing.
Right.
There was the Nomad that Creative Labs made. Many, many portable. This is the time of the Palm Pilot too, mind you. But there were many.
I still have one.
Do you really?
I do, yeah.
Is that Palm Pilot or?
I've got the dock, everything for it.
Oh my god. Yeah, and then that.
Can't bring myself to throw it away.
Yeah, and then you have like a phone that just makes everything easier. Right. Now it's just profound. But yeah, so I think this is the first time I've lost train of thought in the interview in quite some time. You were asking about. This is how you found your way into Apple. Oh, that's right. So. Oh yeah, all the MP3 people kept coming in to Best Buy. They're like, "Hey, do you have the iPod? You have the iPod? You have the iPod?" It's like 2003. I'm like, "What? What is that? iPod?" And I was like, "Oh shit, we did just get the new Apple computers. The iMac, the blue one with the plastic shell, right? The eMac, sorry." And I just kept hearing about Apple like again and again and again and again. I was like, "This company's, I think they're coming back because they were fucking in the sticks. They went through some issues. Yeah." Especially that time. And the iPod rebuilt the whole company. But they had at one point licensed the OS. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, and then Power Computing made a number of machines. And then they went, and this was after Steve Jobs left. Yeah. Right? He did Next, right? Yeah, Next. And then they brought him back. He put an end to that licensing because that was never part of the plan. That's crazy. And then did the first round of the iMac. But it was the iPod that started bringing the consumer attention back to them, and of course, after the iPhone, the rest is history. Yeah. Well, that was the thing. As I saw the trend, I saw the writing on the wall. Right, I was like, retail is going to be going away, and I was 23, but I knew that Apple was coming back, and so at the time, hot jobs. So I applied for a gig at Apple, and they called me because I had already had 6 years retail experience selling computers. Mm-hmm. So, I was in pretty good shape. I worked at a grocery store being a floor supervisor and stuff. So, had plenty of work experience in my early 20s. And they called me and they said, let's get you in for an interview. I was late because I couldn't find the building. And then I had an interview. These two people are still with Apple. And I see them. I've been there 17 years, mind you. And they say, this is the schedule. Can you do it? And I said, well, actually, I can't because I'm in college. And this is exactly when my classes are. It was my last semester. And they said, okay, well, we'll find another role for you. Unheard of. Apple found me another role.
That's awesome.
Is it cool?
Yeah, that's a fantastic story. So they saw something in you that they really liked.
Yeah. And because I was so committed to making a career at Apple at that time, at least, I was 3 points away from failing my capstone, which then I wouldn't have got my undergrad because I was busy, man, working full time and then going down to San Marcos. I was living in Austin, so I was traveling back and forth. But, 17 years later, it's taught me a lot. It's like going to film school, right? You immerse yourself in an aesthetic that with film could be Italian, German, seldom German in terms of film, but French mostly. And you breathe it in and you realize what you prefer in aesthetic, how you want to interact with art. And if anything, and I never talk about Apple on the podcast, right? But it has given me a sense of aesthetic. I don't know how, but it did. And it really refined the way that I look at things, whether it's from a taste perspective or from a visual perspective, because you look at the iPhone 13 Pro, which I've got, it is beautiful.
Well, the company's always been design forward.
Yeah.
At least after they left the brown box.
Right.
So, and obviously brought Johnny Ive in, but even prior to him, they were design forward. In fact, they really kind of went overboard with it in the case of the laptops and finally, eliminating all the ports, right? That was something that upset the client, and they finally brought that back in the latest release. But I mean, we were having a discussion about Apple, but I think that attention to design is something really hard to ignore about them.
It is. The beauty is beauty. And one of the things I think Steve Jobs said some time ago, and this is obviously a paraphrase, but when Microsoft was launching a new OS, I can't recall at this point, it was way past XP, though, it's a more recent OS, they tried to create a new font, right? They were thinking, we need to create new. But one of the pillars of successful design, filmmaking, songwriting, hardware design with the tech is that you always look at what has been. The pillars of Rome, the styles of columns, the typeface. So something that I realized is that you're never really truly going to do something new, so you might as well pay homage to the past. And so that was it. And that was another thing I really learned from Apple. Whatever, like for instance, like song music, it's all fucking been done. So I've been writing a song that I have the loose title called "I'll Be There," right? We both know it's an amazing Four Tops song. Four Tops, right? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, but I can't call it that. That's a fucking "I'll Be There" that song, And I said, fuck it, no. I'm real open about music is to be shared, And it's the same thing with design. You can't really do anything new, even if you try.
So, with respect to your music, I want to talk about all of your side projects, but let's take a minute to talk about. So, you're working for Apple.
Yeah.
You've got numerous alcohol projects going on, and a non-alcohol alcohol project going on.
Yeah.
Somehow you find time to make an album in the middle of all this.
Yeah, I don't understand necessarily how other people operate, but I would say generally speaking, if you don't have a creative outlet, what do you have? I say
Netflix.
That. I love Netflix too.
I'm just kidding.
No, but
I think that's probably true for a lot of people.
For sure. There's unplugging and vegging out, which I absolutely get too. But I'm feeling a lot of things. And a lot of that has to do with the way that the world's changed, which is fine. Try to evolve, try to adapt. A lot of it has to do with love, which has been something that's plagued me for decades.
Just you?
in a very, again, non-unique way, something that's been done and done. And
no, but this is an interesting thing because the love song is such an enduring and constantly recurring. Yeah. It's never going anywhere.
No, never.
And there are great ones. And here you've done what to me essentially is an album full of them.
Yeah,
it's like the Mike G version of 69 love songs. Right? You know that Magnetic Fields album.
Yeah. Great album. It's all I know is that I've been playing music a really, really long time. I've been producing bands. I was done that for over 20 years and played live and all this stuff. But I'd never realized that it's actually about practice. Not practice to be good at your instrument. Practice to always give it some time. To always give the guitar some attention. To always give a moment to how you're feeling, how you're thinking, right? And that's something that I didn't realize I needed to do. So I sing every day now, which was not the case. It's singing, songwriting, it's just a muscle. Writing. And I found that if I just kept pushing and kept doing, that it just brought on more songs. They just kind of came to me. It was the first time I felt that prolific. I mean, I released 3 records in a year, and it's a lot. And I think it comes down to, going back to what I was saying, is like, if I didn't have that outlet, creative outlet, I don't know what I would do, because it's such a healthy way to work through things.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And we're sitting here in a room here for people who can't, well, no one can see it, but people who haven't been here, I'm looking at 4 guitars.
Yeah.
Some amazing recording equipment. I'm even seeing some lighting equipment here.
Oh, yeah. That's the TikTok stuff.
Okay, so so now you're in the video.
Mm-hmm.
Do you play any other instruments?
Yeah, when you walk in, I got that beautiful grand piano.
That's what I was referring to.
That's where it all started. My mom made me take piano lessons.
So what age were you when you started taking them?
7.
7. See,
7 or 8, I think.
And how was it that you stuck with it when other people don't?
I frankly stuck with it when I started playing. We were living in Phoenix, taking piano lessons, and we went to Salt Lake, and I continued classical training for piano. I loved guitar so much, I quit piano.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, the kind of pianist that I was playing the classics. I love classical music. Debussy is my all-time favorite. Chopin is really lovely to play on piano too. And I was like, but guitar is fucking guitar, man. Never with the notion that I was going to be famous or meet girls or whatnot. Which
it's okay if you thought that.
No, sure. I wish that was what it was.
Yeah,
I'm oblivious to fucking females. I'll tell you right now. There's a story I was playing.
That's what they all say to me. Mike.
I'm actually
Mike's
really
oblivious to us.
Yes, I think that's true. But nonetheless, that was the gateway to guitar, and then I came back to piano as a songwriter. My skill as a pianist wasn't. I'm like 100 times better guitar player than I am a pianist, but I can write on piano now, which I never could do when I was younger.
So this is just all very impressive to me.
What?
So to be come on, to be able to write music, to be able to write a song that tell me about the creative process. Are you writing the song first? You writing the music first? You get a tune in your head when you're out walking around. How does this emerge?
It's always guitar first, and that's I feel closer to the guitar more than anything else musically.
Yeah.
And so you'll see my acoustic out there. That's it. So it starts there. There's a riff or whatever, and I don't go forward anymore with anything unless I can write melodically something I find to be a good vocal hook. And this is before I know what the song's about. And this is why, if I understand correctly, this is how McCartney wrote too, as I found out recently. Like, you sing a thing and you're like, oh, I like the tune of that. And then you find words to match it and go backwards. So that's how the process is for me. And then it's never starting. I used to say, like, and this didn't work well, but I used to say I'm gonna write a song in C minor, right? Now C minor on piano, beautiful, engulfing, and for those of you who play piano or know what that is, it's totally different on guitar. Guitar doesn't breathe the same way in C minor. So I'd try to do it that way, and then I'd write a song that wasn't really that strong. But now I just write whatever, and either it works or it doesn't. It's the best stuff in my opinion I've been writing, but I don't know why it changed. I guess I changed. I don't know. It's different.
I mean, these things evolve, right? You're layering experience upon experience, and for whatever reason, we are all products of antecedent experience.
Yeah. It's all I can say is that the one thing that's really, I listen to my stuff. Not. I listen to it because it can take me back to that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because every single song is about a thing. And I can remember the moment that I wrote the thing. You know what I mean? So in a way, it's a really nice highlight reel of my life. And I can go back and be like, oh shit, I remember when I wrote that song. It's really very, very pleasant, and it grounds me to do that.
So it's almost like keeping a diary.
That's right. Yeah. And other people can read it, which is cool, and they can interpret it however they want. But I'll tell you the one thing about the music piece, because I just do it for me, right? But I'll go out and someone will tell me that I had no idea that they listened to it. They're like, oh man, that record's good. I'm like, wait, what? So I find out about people listening to it after. It's really, really cool. Yeah.
That's a nice confirmation to have.
It is. Yeah. It's really, really cool. And I just never expected. If you do things for other people, that's always the wrong reason.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So we launched from Apple into music, and now I just want to go back for a second. I don't tell us what you do for Apple.
So I'm a content strategist. I love content. So what this means is TikTok's a channel, right? YouTube's a channel. Podcast is a channel. Using an app's a channel. And the voice isn't the same for each. The duration of the content's not the same for each. The style's not the same. And so knowing what the right style is, knowing what the right length, duration, type of content to use in a particular setting with our customers is what I do. What's the best thing to use?
That's fast. So give us an example.
I can't get into
the extent that you can.
But let's just say here's a great example, and we talk about this at work. And some time ago, I had to replace an ice maker in my fridge, right?
Right.
What, 20, 30-minute gig? Did it take you about that much? So there's that. And so what would you do to learn how to replace an ice maker? Video is perfect.
Sure.
Right? Same thing with this wiring. I got to go wire another controller for the distillery. However, if I just want to learn how to tie a bow, that could be just an article. You know what I mean? That could be a numbered list of 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
So depending what the situation is, the kind of content would be different, if that makes sense. Again, going back to
this makes perfect sense for someone with a creative mind.
Is that right? You think?
I do. Oh. Yes, because what you're doing is you're determining the best way to deliver a piece of information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I think it comes down to psychology, though. What's the best way to be empathetic to that particular situation for somebody? I don't think the content itself has to be creative. It just has to meet them where they are and understand that it could be a difficult situation. I mean, I'm like that as a person too. So.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
I've always found you to be a rather empathetic guy.
Yeah, probably not to a fault, but to an extent that maybe folks don't really know that much about me because I know more about them. I've been kind of coming across this conversation lately.
You've been collecting information about people effectively for quite some time,
and I remember it.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
So you're the ultimate people person.
I love people a lot.
Yeah.
Despite when we had plenty of conversations.
This is a conversation I've had with other people in my life, right? An introvert is exhausted by people. An extrovert gets recharged by people, and you're clearly in that camp. Yeah,
consider it a balance, right? But socializing with folks, understanding what they're going through, their successes, their lows, their highs, that helps me. The more I feel connected to people in general, again, in their successes or things that are very difficult in their life, I need that, but I also need that time sitting in my chair playing, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a true extrovert. It's a blend for sure.
Ambivert.
Thank you.
I think that's the new term for it. So in addition to, you're also doing a number of projects.
Yeah.
And I want to just get a brief history of your involvement in the beverage industry.
And this is the genesis story is Austin in 2011 was booming with new cocktail joints. Now it's in a more mature state. It's not like Chicago. It's not like New York, but it's in a place now where cocktails are kind of a thing and people do them poorly or they do them amazingly. But in that year, my business partner and I, Charles, we would go out and get food, and there was just great chefs. And at that time, Chris was talking about East Side Showroom earlier, because Kelly, who y'all traveled with today, used to work over there. And that was the first place I was like, man, food and cocktails, that's like a thing.
Tell me why. What drives you into that? Is it the creativity?
It's partially the creativity. It is painting a melody. A cocktail, the greatest cocktails are 3 notes. Now you go to martinis too, but you could count bitters, could say it's 3. But it's 3. And it's the simplicity of it and the kind of restraint it takes to make something beautiful with less. Right? We have many people who, Paul Thomas Anderson's a great example where as a director where he just like crams as much stuff into the movie where it could have been simpler. You could have just reduced it by 30 minutes, took out a couple characters. But that's the thing with food is that a carpaccio is beautiful because of the fat, the egg, which is also fat, but capers, the salinity. I mean,
acid. Right?
Isn't it like the perfect fucking thing? It's the same thing with the daiquiri. You use the right rum or blend. But at any rate, like I felt like I could hang with that industry. We're cut from the same cloth. I've always been thinking about flavors, even from a young.
I've observed that people in the food and beverage industry, it really draws in a lot. When I was in college, there was a big Greek presence at Penn State, right? But yeah. I studied philosophy, as and then we'd end up hanging out with the English majors and the fine arts majors, and you kind of create this like like the what do you want to call them? The square pegs, right? Mm-hmm. They're in the food and beverage industry in a big way, and I love this industry and I love those people, and you seem like you are of a piece to that.
That for sure. I mean, I wouldn't have stuck around, and I posted this to Facebook, which normally I just want to make stupid jokes. I love like stupid jokes, right? I love humor. I love 80s humor and stuff, but something struck me.
Tell us a stupid joke.
Oh, I don't have any.
Come on, man.
It's the whole fucking moon thing. We had, it was great having dinner on the moon, but it had no atmosphere or whatever. Like, which is so stupid.
So bad.
It's so bad. But, oh no, actually the one that I'm actually still proud of. There was some years ago on I-35, there was a big tanker truck that had pork parts, and it somehow got in an accident and spilled all these parts on the highway. And I was like, oh man, it looks like I-35's a porking lot. Like, because all the cars are stopped there. Anyway, so that's how bad it gets. But yeah, I agree with you. The people in the industry, I can't recall if it was the mayor of New York or not, but someone used the word unskilled to talk about.
That's awful.
It was a fucking horrible thing.
Because what I'm saying is that they're highly skilled.
Oh, of course.
But they haven't found anything. It's serving this purpose of bringing very creative types in to do something that's essential and amazing.
It is, and we don't. It's just like, this is tangential, but where do your produce come from? Not you, but right? Like,
right.
The same folks that you and I know working their ass off for very, very little money in Oaxaca to make a product.
Right.
Same model. We ignore it. But the thing is, it's a convenient way to look at the hospitality and saying, well, they're just serving me. Fuck you, they're serving. You know what I mean? And like, it's such a weird and shitty dynamic, and it's along the same school of thought as not tipping. It's along the same school of yelling at your wait staff because you think you're better. They're there to serve you. There was a story. I was in Houston recently, and I love people. Love talking cab drivers and Uber drivers and shit.
Right, and you get, by the way, the best restaurant recommendations for cab drivers.
Totally. So I was talking to this guy, super nice guy, and he was describing a situation in which he had two men in the back. They were clearly intoxicated already. One was pretty nice. The other one was kind of getting like loud and obnoxious and stuff. And so he gets to the destination and the guys kind of open the door somewhat. And the obnoxious guy looks out and he's like, oh, this place is dead. Let's get another place. So he hops back in the car. We both know that's not how Uber works, right? It's
right.
a point-to-point destination. And so the guy starts yelling at the Uber driver and he's like, yo, take me to this next place. And he's like, this is y'all, stop, book another ride and get it. He's like, no, I own you. I paid for this.
Oh.
And so see what I'm saying? That's the same sentiment that people have towards wait staff and that they have towards that. Because once you say unskilled, what does that mean? They're not as good as you, right? And we both know that's bullshit. And so that's the thing, is that I'm not protective. I try not to be that way with you. If you need something, you tell me. This is what I've learned about mezcaleros in the industry of mezcal. Is white people are always like, oh, well, this is what they need. They need money. I'm like, let's just ask them what they need.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This was
I'm on board with that.
Yeah. That's a Pedro Jimenez thing. He always says that. It's like, we ask and you tell us.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is good, but it's just,
you meet them on the same level.
Yeah, that's right. Because they are we're all people and we're all doing amazing things.
Right.
And we should treat it as such. But anyway, so I'll stick up for this industry as long as I live.
So I'm with you on this, and I'm sure your audience is. Well, we've wandered off the topic of how you found it and the projects that you're doing in it.
Yeah. So the food led to creation, and it led to me mixing ingredients together in my then shed. So I learned how to ferment. So now we have an image of you in the shed with 3 ingredients. That's right. I learned how to ferment with 4 ingredients.
Okay.
Actually, this might be 3 ingredients. Right. Anyway, I learned how to ferment.
Tell us what
in
they
a
were.
shed.
What were they?
With sugar, white sugar.
Yeah.
Baker's yeast, Fleischmann's, the shit you can get. Tomato paste, and Epsom salt.
Jesus, I can't even imagine what this must have tasted like.
It tastes like tomato bread. But that's...
You didn't say flour.
No, I know, but the yeast just somehow, when it starts eating all that sugar, it tastes like bread.
Okay, so this was... What was the idea behind this?
This was going to be... Because I always had this stupid punk rock mentality that you must do things grassroots-wise. This was going to be the neutral base for the gin that we were going to make. Got you. Okay, so you were looking for a clear spirit. That's right. Very high proof. Yeah. Well, were you able to knock the tomato flavor out? No. It kind of knocks out. It's only a pH buffer when it comes down to it. Yeah. Yeah, it was weird, man. But I remember... You surely could have gotten something cheaper than tomato paste. Yeah, of course. I didn't know shit about anything. Okay. All right. I'm just pushing. I got to push back a little bit. In 2012, But I'll tell you this: I had to transport it to the then distillery before we had products, because I was learning how to ferment, learning how to distill, and that motherfucker would be sloshing in my back seat. And how much are we talking about? This is like 15 gallon. Okay. So 15 gallon tub of fermented stuff in my back seat. Just hoping it doesn't spill over, because it's sugar. Not a good story if it spills in the back of my Honda. No, it's tough to explain your way out of that. That's right. Well, that's another element too. Yeah. Right. But I still put stuff in my trunk, and it still smells like Sotol in my car. So anyway, I haven't learned my lesson. 10 years later, I still put stuff in the car. We're working up to the Sotol. Yeah. So go from fermenting tomato paste to the next. Give us the highlights here on the project. That became the gin, not the tomato paste, but the neutral. Give us the name of the gin. So Genius Gin was the first one. All right. Learn how to design in 3D so we could build a custom bottle, which I still think is a beautiful bottle. Learned everything I could about fermentation with the one thing, which is sucrose or sugar in this case, and then learned how to distill gin. And I had a very, very clear idea of what I wanted it to taste like, because I tried every gin I possibly could. I'm like, nope. It's like dating, right? It's like, no, red flag. But the most important thing in terms of distilling that ever happened to me was in 2014. I went to Oaxaca for the first time with a couple of people. Charles, my business partner as well, and a couple other people, Dennis, who owns Roswell Room, for instance. And I got to take some of the way, because I've been proofing. I know how to proof, and I've been running a distillery and stuff. And I went with Judah out to visit Acalino.
Nice.
And we went with a member of CRM, one of the dudes, the teetotaling guys, right? And he was cool. But I remember sitting there in Acalito, the concrete spot, which now he's got had the man cave. But anyway, I got to proof mezcal with Judah. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what the fuck? This is crazy, right? Because I do it in a whole other category. And so we're doing that. We're hanging out. Amazing day. But I tasted everything. I looked at everything. And I was like, there's something that I need to be paying attention to here. So I get back. This is late 2014. Early 2015. I get a call from my friend Justin, who now works in the distribution realm. He's like, hey, do you want to go check out this place? They're growing this thing called Sotol. And I was like, okay, let's go out. Mm-hmm. And so we went out. I'm like, looks foreign as fuck to me. I don't know the first thing about this thing, and I ended up making the first 2 batches of Sotol ever in America, North
in
America.
2015.
Yeah. Even though I haven't been credited by a lot of times because
you're getting credit right now, man.
Yeah. It doesn't fucking matter when it comes down to it, right? But then I was like, this is amazing. I love this. This is different. I'm connecting with the earth. This brings me back to how I felt in Oaxaca, the connection to nature, and all of that. That changed everything. And ever since then, I've been, as we were just in Oaxaca together, I've wanted to learn every possible thing about mezcal and agave and Sotol because it's the absence of technology. There is no technology.
Well, it's a technology. It's just an old technology, right?
Right.
It's not
Science,
what right? people here think of as technology.
Yeah.
But any technique that's repeated is a technology.
Yeah. Well, you're right. But let's just say that that's been the most meaningful thing. And we just got done harvesting 115 plants, a crew of 7 on Saturday.
Which we just saw in the garage.
Yeah, and smelled in the garage and stuff. And this plant has talked to me. That's going to sound strange. But nature talks if you choose to listen. And this plant has somehow given me purpose that I don't think anybody or anything ever realized. So working with it, getting cut by it, spending all these hours failing in ferments, batting my head against the wall. I'll tell you, the only reason I can do this is because of folks in Mexico, because they gave me information. I said, I'm having a hard time here.
Right.
What should I do? And that free exchange of conversations, Roberto Contreras from Sonora, who makes palmilla out there, good mate. He helped me in a way that I don't think he'll ever realize, and it allows me now to make Sotol in the way that I know how.
But your failures are what drove you to ask the questions.
That's right.
Right? There aren't really any failures. They're just different ways to come at a problem.
Yeah, I think that's a wise way to look at it. But I look at it as this is on me.
Yeah,
I'm letting
that's you. You've
down.
got to do this. There's no question about it. Well, you even let us down.
Yeah,
Mike.
that's right.
So you got gin. What was the
Genius
disposition?
Gin is
the disposition of that company.
That's called Genius Liquids. The distillery is still around.
Okay.
We got some great plans for 22, but Old Highborn Gin, which is the one that is the money maker for us, is a liter gin, very inexpensive, but made in a pot still, just like the best gins. Despite what I've heard people from certain cognac houses that make not plantation, but some people talk shit because it's so inexpensive. They think that we're using additives and stuff, but that's not the case. But so that one, we got into New York with Nicholas Platzi at PM Spirits against all odds during COVID. They've been killing it for us out there.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, man. Thank you. It's been a lifesaver in that respect. But dude, I got thousands of agave, which I hope you have some of these seeds that
I brought you the seeds.
All right, sweet.
But I left them in my room. Shit, man. I got the seeds for you. Chris is here for another day.
Okay,
He's
cool.
going to have the seeds.
Yeah, I'll get them from him. But that's the future. I've got seeds from
I
Guerrero.
just mail them to you. The trick was
That's
getting them
fine.
into the country.
Yeah.
And that's done.
But we're going to, I want us.
So tell us about the seeds and why I brought them back for you.
Well, there's Sotol's here. It's in Texas, right?
Yeah.
And it tastes a certain way.
Yeah.
It's its own thing. But the dream for me is to work with agave that I've grown. I've tried with the USDA to bring agave over.
And you
already.
got these seeds through Jason.
Uh-huh.
And we have about 150 of 2 types. And what do we have?
So Jason Paul Cox, a good mate who started Cinco Sentidos, he has a lot of growing projects. I love that about him.
Right.
Is that it doesn't end with the mezcal that he sources from these great producers. He grows shit. And that's investing in the future for his producers and himself. And so we have a papalote from Guerrero. That's one of the seeds.
Beautiful.
I'm super excited about. And the other is Sierra Negra from Santa Catarina Alvaradas from Don Alberto.
Perfect.
So these have a home. I've got a home for them.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Just outside of North Austin, I met someone who was harvesting wild juniper some years ago and asked us if we wanted it for the gin. We used it. It's not as flavorful as some of the stuff from the Midwest or Colorado specifically, but I like him. His land talks, man. It's a spiritual place, and I have about 50 to 100 agave already out there that are mature. Not mature. Mostly.
This is great. So you've got an arrangement to put the agaves in. It's in a location where it's easy enough for you to care for them. And
it's just outside the city. And he's into it. Good guy, good family guy, And I hope that this is what I'm doing in my 50s, man. As I'm out there.
It sounds like you're well on your way to it.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see. I don't know how long this shit takes to grow off in our soil, but
off the top of my head, I don't know how long a papalote or a Sierra Negra takes, but I would wager that it's in the 10 to 15 range.
Probably. So I need to stick around that long at least. After I harvest the first of each of these species, I'm done. Yeah,
you're done.
I can call it a day.
All right, now you've got another project.
Yeah, the Sloluck, which is a non-alcoholic distilled product, distilled spirit, however you want to call it. I'm in love with the team because it's a separate entity, right? Like Genius, Charles and I own, that's the Sotol, that's the gins and everything. But this is separate because they were trying to figure out how to make a thing. And like, we want to make a non-alcoholic spirit. And I said, yeah, let's do that. Because it's a puzzle.
This is to I think a lot of people's surprise, the low and no is a growing category, and it's going to continue growing.
Absolutely.
And so here you are again at the front of something awesome.
Yeah,
right?
maybe.
You're smelling out trends and you're doing a good job of it.
Well, when there's fewer entrants right now, we can be the best.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because I know a couple of these companies and I've learned about the process, and it is using a concentrate than adding water. So you're adding water, which has no flavor, to just disperse that small amount of concentrate into the rest of it, right? I hate that philosophically. That's how they do tequila, right? You just add a bunch of water to the cuerpo and then you're done, right? But every single drop of this product, details all the time. But anyway, so the NA space, I was the first to make Sotol. Maybe I'll make the first NA that tastes good. And it was a process of understanding what I loved about spirits, but bringing it to something without alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by it. I love the idea. The older I get, the less I want to drink.
Yeah,
which I don't mind saying, but it's true.
Yeah,
I don't bounce back like I used to. I think a lot of people feel that way.
Sure.
But they're out. They want to be social. They want to taste things that are novel and delicious. And I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, we'll see. And I hear some senior execs at certain companies already talking about us. So my plan here wasn't to be a stay-at-home NA distiller. I gave the crew a commitment for a certain amount of time, and then I wanted to walk away from it because once the challenge is done, you just operationalize it, and then you just put it out the same way, But choosing which acid to use and stuff, and preservative, that's.
So you're gonna just start with one product. You gotta have more products in the pipeline, I'm sure.
Well, we'll look in the fridge. I'll show you.
Okay, sounds good. All right. What else? Anything else in this? Have I missed anything in the?
Nah, man. I mean, TikTok stuff's going well.
TikTok.
Yeah, I like reviewing stuff. I think I probably should have been an actor.
The 3-minute review.
It's 60-second tasting.
60-second tasting.
But yeah.
We're just gonna call it 3-minute reviews.
That's fine.
All right. That's fine. So you've done a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
I want to ask you if you have any favorites that really jump out. It's just
people tell me shit, Reed, and this has been the case my whole life, where people will tell me very, very revealing things that are, by many standards, are kind of difficult, traumatic things. And there was an interview, of course I won't tell you who it was, because we stopped recording, but they detailed their S&M life to me.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And with great detail, because it had been at the core of some abuse, actually, in a couple relationships.
So that sounds like they got pretty raw.
That's right. Yeah. Once we stopped recording.
So this is not something you solicited or elicited, but this is like,
Taxi Cab Confessions. Remember that?
And I was going to say, Errol Morris, he's famous for letting people hang themselves.
That's right.
Right, in his interviews. And this is what I'm trying to get you to do right now.
Hang myself.
Just kidding, yeah.
No, I mean.
But so that stands out.
Oh, I remember
Does it stand out as a favorite interview, or just something that just was out of left field?
It's just something that makes me realize what privilege, but yet I'm not going to call it a talent necessarily, but whatever skill it is that I have, that people tell me these things. I had someone tell me they were raped. This is separate from the show.
This isn't a happy topic, Mike.
No, I know, but that's okay. It's real, right? We go through all these fucking things. But on the other hand, getting to go to Tzalixtac, for instance, in this last trip to Oaxaca, and I'm interviewing an 80-year-old man who details the smuggling history of rum in the region in northern Oaxaca. That's a story that will only live on through Jason, for instance, Paul Cox, or some of the folk, Carlos, that works for Cinco Sentidos. But I got it on mic.
Lovely.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's a fucking truck up there, man. And I'm there with a MacBook Pro and a microphone, and he's talking about the history of his family making rum, and a road that didn't exist until 1993. I mean, that's fascinating stuff, and no one else has captured that, to my knowledge. So those are the things. It's been life-changing, the relationships and the friendships that I've built. I think yourself included, to be honest. I mean, I know we hung out the first time you were in Austin and whatnot, but I think had we not done the interview, had we not been at Las Almas Rotas in Dallas for the official launch of Cuentacuentos, and then the Oaxaca time, I think it's a catalyst for really beautiful change in my life and long-standing change.
So so this is interesting. You've got basically this massive repository of information about the food and beverage industry, and you're publishing it on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. You've had a few interviews go sideways. Mm-hmm. Are there any interviews that are just on the horizon that you've been trying to get for a long time that you have been elusive, or where do you want to go with this?
I didn't know that I needed to interview Ansley.
Right.
I didn't know. I knew his brand.
A fascinating guy.
Beyond fascinating.
Yeah.
And it was, as Chris will tell you, because he was sitting there, that was one of the most life-changing, like sitting down with Ron Cooper, because it was just he and I.
Right.
And Leslie was there, and it was the downstairs at the Esquire, just Ron and I drinking mezcal. Mm-hmm. That was one of those moments I'm like, fuck, this is a moment, man. But also this moment out on the terrace outside the place I stay in Oaxaca with Ansley. And I'll tell you exactly this is paraphrased, but I've learned, and I think we talked about this in Dallas last time we were up there, Las Almas Rotas, but I am learning to appreciate what people tell me about how they feel about my work or what I've done or who I am, all this. It's a journey, but I'm accepting it. I'm not very inclined to take that to heart. I have to really, really try. So I asked Ansley that same question. The guy works all the time. And I said, so do you plan the next project? Do you think about what you need to do next? And he's like, no, I'm just in the moment. I do it. And I said, do you ever take any time to reflect on the impact you've had on other people's lives? And he looks at me. He's smiling. He kind of goes straight face. He's like, no, I haven't. And I said, I think you should. And that was a moment, man. And
I think you should too.
Yeah, no, I mean, sure.
300 and some interviews is quite a few interviews.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of experience. But anyway, that interview is not out yet. I think there's a piece in there that is not to be made public regarding a certain acquisition that distilled Craft Distillers will be doing. So I need to edit that out.
Right.
I don't know if it's public or not yet. But anyway, that was a big one. So it's been a life-altering thing, man. Super life-altering. You have the controversial last question.
Now, you have the opportunity to sit down and have a cocktail with any historical personage, past or present. What are you drinking and who was it with?
So no one's ever asked me this question, which is great. I was thinking, man, there's so many, and I'm like a film guy. But I'll tell you one that came to mind because he died of drinking. In fact, while filming Gladiator, he tried to outdrink the staff in South Africa, was it? At any rate, so Oliver Reed. Do you know Oliver Reed?
I don't. Tell us.
Classic British actor, a motherfucker. Tattooed his dick, apparently, from what I've read. Very, very good friends with Richard Burton and Peter O'Toole.
Mm-hmm.
They ran and drank together all the time. But when I was visiting my folks, my dad wanted to watch some classic Johnny Carson interviews, which I love Johnny Carson. Dick Cavett I prefer because he's a better interviewer. But Oliver Reed, there's an infamous, it's Shelley Winters, and I'm talking about old people from Hollywood bygone era or whatever, but Shelley Winters was a pretty popular actress. She was in, it doesn't matter, there's a movie with Robert Mitchum that comes to mind. But anyway, so she's there and she's talking over Oliver Reed. Oliver Reed's drinking whiskey and smoking a cigarette as you do in the 70s. He was just promoting his movie with Bette Davis, Burnt Offerings, which is a great horror movie if you've ever seen it. And Shelley Winters keeps interrupting him. And he's getting pissed. And they talk about having knocked boots together and shit. He's being a little bit immature about stuff. And so she goes, she's like, I got a thing, I got to go. And so Oliver Reed's interview continues. Shelley Winters comes back out. Oliver Reed's talking about something. He's like, well, madam, you best serve us in the kitchen. And he starts talking about feminism and all this shit, right?
Oh, God.
He gets booed and he goes, I believe the woman's place is in the kitchen. They want to serve the man. That's why there are no female chefs. Right? They can see your face. It's fucking brutal, dude.
Oh, yeah.
But he's such an asshole. And he went on so many talk shows being obliterated, drunk-wise, right? And I just want to see how toe-to-toe I can go with Oliver Reed. That's it. Yeah.
I don't think that today's audience would be too kind.
They fucking shouldn't be. He was an asshole.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But that doesn't mean you don't
But
drink with
this is your
somebody.
choice.
I know.
I'm going to give you the option again.
I think
this is the one. Okay.
I can't.
Going to
Dave Gone, but Dave Gone's clean. Dave Bazan, I've seen him drink a whole bottle of tequila on stage, and there's all these other litany of musicians and stuff. But let's not make it easy.
I think this is a fine choice. Yeah, exactly. You need some resistance here.
That motherfucker would be unpleasant. Yeah. Or we'd get on really well, not because we had shared opinions about things, but because we both just enjoy the drink. That's it.
All right, man. There we have it.
Yeah.
You have interviewed the famous Mike G.
Yeah,
for his own podcast.
Yeah, shame on me.
I have a prediction.
Yeah,
this is going to be your most famous podcast. Your most listened to.
I think you're full of utter bollocks. I don't think.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate for you having given me the privilege of doing this for you. And I know a lot of people are going to be interested in this, and even though we didn't make you cry,
maybe later during the tasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reed, I appreciate it, mate, and now I feel purged. I don't have to go visit those damn priests anymore.
That's right.
Yeah. Cheers.
All right, man. Take care.
Well, there we have it. You just sat through 58 minutes of me talking about stuff and me being loose. I don't normally swear that much on the interviews, but I don't care. It's my birthday. I really don't care. And for those of you that don't know who Oliver Reed is, he's just a legendary drunk. You know, he had such a arrogance, but yet elegance about the way he communicated. And he was very, very hated by many and beloved by others. So I think it's someone to check out. You go to YouTube and check out some of his clips. It's like akin to the Orson Welles, him being drunk during interviews. Although Orson Welles is a much kinder and creative person than Oliver Reed was, in my opinion. But this was a good day. Good tasting. I love Cuentacuentos stuff. Got to visit a couple producers out there too. And Reed, thank you so much for doing the thing. No one sat that long, asking me stupid and great things alike about my life. And I think this will probably do it. I don't know if I have anything else really to say. Or if I do it, I guess it'll be in song form. So thanks everybody for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter how excited you are to go and get a cocktail tonight for your birthday, or if you're thinking, I do have more work to do on Sunday, so it's not really a time off kind of weekend for my birthday, please keep dancing.